both sides, the left and some folks on the right, including, by the way, the Trump campaign, to their credit, have called for unity ever since the shooting on Saturday, right? We need to cool things down. President Biden says, let's kind of, reshift our focus a little bit. The Trump campaign has told their people, do not post any violent stuff on social media. Like, just let's knock it off, guys. And that's actually a good message. That is a message that the country needs. Unfortunately, most people aren't listening to that. And the people who aren't listening to that, of course, are on the right. I'm going to give it to you straight. One of the people that is actually openly rejecting the calls for unity is none other than Real America's Voice host Brian Glenn, who, of course, happens to be Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend. During an interview on Steve Bannon's podcast this week, which, of course, Steve Bannon can't host because he's in prison, guest host Natalie Winters was talking to Brian Glenn, again, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boy toy, and she asked him this. Make no mistake, if you turn the tables and it were, a Trump supporter who had tried to shoot President Joe Biden, do you think Democrats would be pushing for unity right now? They would be weaponizing, though they already have, the full force of the federal government to come after MAGA. The media would be squarely blaming this on President Trump. You can't have unity with people who fundamentally do not want you to survive or your movement to survive. That's what Natalie Winters said. Then Brian Glenn responded, they'd be calling for the Second Amendment. They would be taking your Second Amendment right. Where are all the Republicans calling for gun control after the left attempted to suicide on President Trump? You would think we would be calling for gun control. No, we're not doing that, but the left would do that. The unity, I want the Republican Party to unify. I want Americans to unify and get behind Republicans, but I'm not unifying with Democrats. End of story. To which Natalie Winters responded, I don't want to unify with 60% of the Republican Party either. We'll take the vote, but we want actual accountability. And if Steve were here, he'd be saying the same thing. Oh boy. Now, here's what gets me about Brian Glenn's comments, and this is why I wanted to talk about it. He's using a made-up scenario. And Natalie Winters, of course, prompted him, like, well, what if this had been something that didn't happen? Right? What if it was a Trump supporter going after Biden? Which, again, is not a thing that happened. So she presents him with a fake scenario. And then the two of them proceed to get pissed off about the fake scenario, which then leads them to the conclusion that the left is evil and, we'll never unite with them. Because of the fake scenario that they created and then got pissed off about. That's the kind of thing that probably needs to be worked out with a professional therapist, right? You're creating fake things in your head and then freaking out about them, right? That is something a mental health professional can help you with. Sounds like you've got some demons kicking around up there that could probably be fairly easily dealt with by somebody who knows what they're doing. But this is what the Republicans do, right? They create the fake scenarios. They put the fake scenarios out there. They get everybody to get pissed off with them about the fake thing. And then that's what they use to justify their horrible actions. Horrible people doing horrible things based on fake things that they created in their own heads. Well, folks, we have crossed that 1 million subscriber milestone, but rest assured, we are just getting started here at Ring of Fire. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel and make sure to like, share, and comment on the videos.